Hey everyone, Garbage here. Here's a fancy gamer word, diegetic. In video games, you most often hear this word used when talking about diegetic user interfaces, but what does that even mean? In the vast majority of games, user interfaces are two-dimensional images overlaid on top of the rendered game world. They may be a very crucial part of the gameplay, but they do not physically exist within that game world. These are called non-diegetic user interfaces. However, there are a growing number of video games where their user interfaces actually exist as physical objects within their games, and these are called diegetic user interfaces. Diegetic being defined as existing or occurring within the world of a narrative rather than as something external to that world. Sons of the Forest is a game with several examples of diegetic user interfaces. In it, a lot of game mechanics which would normally be handled by traditional 2D interfaces such as giving orders to NPCs, navigation, and inventories are all represented by real in-game objects that not only react to real-time lighting, but also in-game physics as well. These are some of the coolest looking examples of diegetic user interfaces I've ever seen in a video game. That's not to say that this is in any way a new concept. Diegetic UIs have been around for ages. The most well-known example, Dead Space, a game from 2008, is famous for having very few non-diegetic HUD elements, instead opting to represent things like health and ammo as physical parts of the main character's suit and weapons. In VR games, diegetic UIs are the norm rather than the exception, mainly for the sake of immersion and user comfort. And there are countless other examples of diegetic UIs that can be found in all sorts of games made throughout the years. The reason why we don't see more diegetic UIs even in modern games, I think has a lot to do with screen sizes. With a 2D overlay, it doesn't matter how big or small your screen is, or how wide or narrow it is. Most modern game engines will dynamically scale and move 2D UI elements around to fit just about any screen, whereas physical game objects have fixed dimensions that may or may not be changeable, and something that is fully visible on a widescreen display may only be partially visible on a mobile screen or a CRT monitor. Another consideration is that the clarity of diegetic UIs are directly affected by the game's resolution, whereas with non-diegetic UIs you can render the two elements separately in different resolutions if needed. Of course, none of these problems are impossible to solve. For example, in Sons of the Forest, the game will pan the camera around the inventory if you need to interact with something that is just off screen. But this is something that requires a lot more consideration to make than a simple 2D overlay. And for a lot of games, it just makes more sense to go for that traditional non-diegetic UI. One thing that I would love to see in the future is for more games to take the Sons of the Forest approach, where everything is a beautifully modeled object that looks and feels like it belongs in the game world. So many games just project a 2D HUD onto a flat plane in the game and call it diegetic, but I feel like there is so much more opportunity to do cool stuff that has never been seen before with a fully modeled object, and I would love to see more of that in the future. Anyways, hope you enjoyed the video, like, subscribe, and bell, and as always, have a nice day.